a place that has one cave and a place that has three, most people are picking the three. So they lost a lot of revenue in that aspect because of that lack of people coming in. So what they did was they started marketing themselves a little bit differently. So the room that we're currently standing in is actually known as the dance hall. Because what they would do in this cave is they would actually do square dancing in this cave. If you look around the room, what you'll see is there's nothing on the floor. It's nice and flat. In fact, there should be stalagmites on the ground. We have stalactites up on the ceiling, and those things typically make stalagmites on the ground, but there's nothing here. Because the Mead family cut them out of the floor to make room for people to dance. We have taken full advantage of that, though, because we now use this cave for many, many purposes as well. So we give tours in here on a daily basis. You're on one right now. But on like Friday evening, we're going to be just showing a movie in this cave. So we're going to set up a projection screen in the hallway. We're going to be watching Lilo and Stitch in here for $6 a piece. It's pretty cool. Top Gun on July the 5th, the original Top Gun, not the new one. We're going to be watching Barbie at some point, Dune Part 2, and I think our other one is Hunger Games Battle of Song of the Saints. Everyone's last time
He's not moving.
hopefully he's moving some. It's been about a month since I've been in this game personally. So.
That's a piece of glass.
Don't touch it. It's a salad. Can't touch it.
Yeah, so we got several bats hanging out right here, quite literally. So these are Indiana bats. Indiana bats are an endangered species, and I like to hang out in groups like this. This is a very small group. They actually like to hang out in really, really large clusters of like 20 to 30 here and there, pocketed throughout. So they're nocturnal, so that here in about a couple hours, they're going to wake up and leave the cave to go for their nightly dinner. And they can eat about 1,000 mosquitoes an hour. And they're pretty good at it, right? Now these guys, like I said, are endangered, and the reason they're endangered is because of white nose syndrome. We have a fungus in our cave that kills our bats in the wintertime, and how it does it is it makes them really itchy. It grows on their skin. It makes them really itchy. They wake up out of hibernation. They can't replenish their fat reserves that they have stored up because their heart rate speeds back up, and they end up starving to death, ultimately, because they can't eat in the middle of February. There's no mosquitoes flying. We had to tear down some forest or cut down some trees in order to build that there. So ultimately, we just built them a new home. Because in the middle of summer, they live in the trees most of the time. Best bet is if you start finding them in places you don't want them, call somebody, have them removed, because it's about $2,500 a piece per bat you touch and remove. And then also build bat boxes on the outside of your structure so they have somewhere else to go besides inside. So, here's guys, this is a wet cave. Standard cave. They're slick. So one of my favorite things about coming into a cave are just the oddities that you see as you make your way through. And one of the things you might have noticed as you shine your light around the room is that you'll find little patches of what look like crystals or glitter on the ceiling, right? You might see that occasional little bit of glimmer. That, unfortunately, is just water. And we call those cave diamonds. And they're diamonds in a sense because they are promising, because they help you go find an exit. Because ultimately what it is condensation. So as we look around this passageway, we can shine our flashlight and we can pretty well tell which direction the exits are in this cave simply because of the concentration of diamonds. So the more that you see, the closer you are to an exit. So if we look backwards in the way we came, we're going to see them spread out a little bit along the ceiling, closer to the stairs where we came down. They kind of disperse as we make our way down the hallway. And as we look even further down this hallway, it basically turns into none. But if I turn my body and look down these hallways, I see lots of little sparkles, lots of cave diamonds. That tells me there's an exit that way. So if you're ever lost in a cave, what are you doing? But if you're ever lost in a cave, look for diamonds on the ceiling. That's going to lead you to an exit. But not always is that exit the way you want to go out, but it is an exit nonetheless. Just like I promised, you can obviously see an exit to the cave. There's water running through this room, and this water that's running through this room is known as James River. It's an above-ground stream that disappears into a rock face and ends up inside this cave here. But now is a good time to talk about how caves got here to begin with, right? So all of our caves that we have here at Carter Caves are limestone-based caves. Limestone got here simply because this entire area at one point was underwater as an ocean. And in that ocean, there were animals that had bones and shells that were made primarily of the mineral calcium. Similar to the way our bones and teeth are made of calcium, right? And also similar to the way our bones and teeth are made of calcium, they can erode over time. And simply put, we ingest things that have high or low pHs or acids that erode away the enamel of our teeth, right? Sodas, teas, coffees, those things wear on our teeth over time. And that's exactly what happened in this cave. See, the limestone itself is made primarily out of that calcium, and our water that runs through as groundwater has an acid in it called carbonic acid. That carbonic acid got placed in our water simply because we are also in a deciduous forest. Deciduous is a big old word that simply just means that the leaves fall in the fall and winter. And as those leaves fall to the ground, they die, decompose, and release carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide mixes with water to create carbonic acid, H3CO2. And it eats away at the calcium and makes the holes within the calcium, within the limestone, bigger and bigger and bigger as more and more water flows through it. So ultimately, where we're currently standing is a still developing cave system. This water that's running through here is actively making more cave back that way. Now, we're not going to go through the water today. Most of us probably didn't come prepared to do that. But that's not to say that you can't do that. We do have wild caving tours that happen in this cave, which we go through some of the undeveloped passages where we're trying to make stalagmites. But as you can see, they're failing, right? We got all these little holes on the ground, and that's where they're dripping water to try to make stalagmites grow. But the sand is too soft. It's not allowing for growth to happen. So until the sand gets out of here, we're not going to have stalagmites. Does anybody have any questions about this? But you can obviously see where the water is coming out of the cave here. That's that same opening that we saw as we headed down the stairs the first time. As we make our way out here though, because of the cold air that rushes out of the cave as well as the humidity that's created by the water, what we've ultimately created is a miniature version of the Canadian forest. If you look out across, we have several conifer trees, various types of evergreen, but we also have some species that are not necessarily found all over the United States. They're mostly found in the northern parts of the United States and even in Canada. That low-lying, almost fine texture that's happening on the rocks right through there, that's a Canadian view. And it doesn't happen anywhere else besides right here on the park. And it is an endangered species. And then further back in there, there's a type of maple that only really exists nowhere else in the United States, just here and Canada. So it's really weird. But tomorrow, if you go on our commercial tour of the cave, but this pile of dirt means something, because if we look above that pile of dirt, what we're seeing is a bunch of really different colored formations. So these guys are all stalactites. These stalactites are pure calcite. You can tell it based on their color, right? These are nice and bright white, which means that they're dripping, right? They're going to drip water. We haven't had much rain in the past couple of days, so they're pretty dry at the moment, and that means you guys came at the perfect time to see the sparkles, right? So if you guys get up close, you can actually see how sparkly this bed is right here. So what that means is water is dripping from the ceiling, right? And as it drips from the ceiling, the crystals of calcite are formed. They're fractalizing, right? And it's reflecting light back to you. Now, unfortunately, glitter doesn't show up too well in pictures, so good luck. But eventually, these guys will become stalagmites, and they'll start building up. But until then, we just get to see the bed here. So on average, it takes about 100 to 150 years for a stalactite or a stalagmite to grow about the same size as the end of your thumb. So we're going to be waiting before we...
On your light over here, I want to see it. Not twirling. Let me see it.
So guys, this is obviously why we want to be listening to directions. It'd be a shame if someone was to just walk looking up at the ceiling and end up down below. Now that's not too bad of a drop, but I wouldn't want to be the one to go down there. And obviously there's running water running through here. So we are looking at where the water that's coming through the cave is coming from. It's running underneath of where we're going to be walking today. So we're going to stick to the left side wall for the time being. Right is like navigating, because the longer you're in there, the more it just looks the same, right? So when we're looking up or looking around, right, a lot of times you could be like, I swear I did, right? And as we look down the hallway where we're headed, you can almost see several different paths you could take, and it's hard to tell which one is the right one. Fortunately for you guys, I know which way is the right one. Or at least I think, like I said, it's about a month. So we go, there's a drop off that way. This guy's a little bit different. Little brown bats are also an endangered species. So we have 3 endangered species on the park of bat flies. Little brown tricolored bats are technically not endangered yet, but they've been
Headed that way.
well, the actual Conservation Association has recommended them for endangered status, and then little browns themselves, right?
Aww.
So that's a little brown bat.
Aww.
And he does not like us being.
Aww, look how adorable.
So if he was to take off and start flying, he wants nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
He wants to try to get away from you.
Hi.
So it's that
Hi,
weird
Noah.
conceited notion that they're always trying to attack us.
Aw.
No, if they can't eat you, they don't want you. So, yeah. As we make our way forward, be careful over there where Peyton's standing. There's a pretty good little park right there. The dance hall, but we didn't see any. But here we've got some stalagmites starting to grow. So these guys, stalactite, dripping down water that has calcite still in it, and we're now building up to make stalagmites right here. The yellow that you're seeing on there is actually a colonization of bacteria. So if you've ever been in a cave and you've seen all those little crickets that are in the cave, those things are actually cave-dwelling animals. They're blind, they're deaf. They're always in the cave. They're never out really outside, except whenever they just happen to wander that way because they don't know where they're going. But they actually eat the bacteria on the walls. So if you've looked at the walls of a cave and you've seen little yellow spots, it's bacteria growing. So back in there, crickets are going to eat that. Now this guy's really cool. So we've got stalagmites, we've got stalactites, and sometimes they grow so big that they fuse together in the middle. That's a column. In some places, like at X Cave, we have some that are close to 30 feet tall that have fused together in the middle. So we're going to do some quick math, right? So how old is this guy? If we take the end of our thumb and say 100 to 150 years, measure it up real quick and carry the 2, that guy's old, right? Now we're looking at close to 30 to 40,000 years old, right? So pretty old, right? Cool. Down that way, we need to crawl. That's called Sandy Cave, which again is on our Wild Caving Adventure series. So if you're interested in getting in some caves, we're also looking up. So there's going to be a couple of places that get a little low, not so low that you're going to have to like go down on all fours, but low enough that if you're tall enough, you're going to want to watch your head. So just being aware. And we're actually going to be making our way toward the exit of the cave.
Ellie, be careful, baby.
Can I walk in glasses? No, I want to walk my glasses. Are you making it red?
All the things you cut throughout the day, along the natural oils on your hands, will stick to those formations, and that creates sort of a shell around it. That means that new mineral can't stick to the food web. So basically, three ways to build these areas. So water, food, goes over and washes it all.
Don't run. You can't run.
That is a cord weaver. Same kind as Charlotte.
Red, you would. So I brought a change of shoes. 3 minutes here.
Wait, guys, it's like a slide.
Well, he doesn't have a slide anymore, to be honest. Where's your hot pot? Guys, the love is so short for the chest. I'm just not going forward.
I don't have any, I think there's change
That's where you're going.
So be careful going down the stairs here, guys, because we are going down some stairs. It'd probably be best if we get a bunch.
That beautiful. Come here, Ellie, I'll help you see. I want you to see it.
If you stand where mom is, you can see it better. If you stand where you are, you can see it better.
No,